I spoke to Senator and Republican Policy Committee Chairman Roy Blunt. I asked him if he is worried President Trump could be a one-and-done president.
I think the president should be reelected. The regulatory environment, the incredible economic successes that he's had, what's happened in the Middle East, what we've done generally to hold our allies to account for doing their part of the job. There are lots of reasons to reelect the president. I think we shouldn't assume until the election's over that he once again isn't going to take advantage of that unique way he's communicated with Americans. It doesn't show up in polling, but it does show up at the ballot box.
Hunter Biden is an issue that President Trump brings up at every rally. Vice President Biden says it's a distraction, that it's a smear campaign. Is it a legitimate issue or not? Is it a distraction? Is it real? Is it fair? Tell me what you think.
I think the president would be better off in this final weekend talking about the record-setting, never before happened growth in GDP in the last quarter, how he led us to significant economic opportunity space through the first 3 years of the administration, how he's prepared to do that again.
You so quickly moved from the issue of Hunter Biden to the president talking about the economy, and I know you're on Senate Intel, so it sort of makes me think that maybe the Hunter Biden story isn't, because that would fall in your lap because it has to do with China. So am I to read anything into the fact that that the Senate Intelligence Committee doesn't seem interested in this?
No, you shouldn't read anything into that. I think this is a story that if it does develop, it's going to develop over time. There's not been enough media interest in looking at it. The president can't carry a story like that all by himself, but he can carry the economic message all by himself. And I think that's the stronger of the two messages.
Now, there are a number of Senate Republicans who are in trouble this election. You've got Senator Collins of Maine. She's got a tough race. Senator Lindsey Graham's got a tough race. You've got Martha McSally, Senator Arizona. She's got a tough race. And you've got such a closely divided Senate. Do you expect the Republicans to hold the Senate?
You know, I think we will. We may be dependent on one or two elections in Georgia after the election to get to the 51 plus votes we need. But I think there's a likely pathway that gets us there, and it'll make a big difference. President Trump reelected without a Republican Senate would not be the kind of environment that people would want. And frankly, if Biden was elected, I think not having a Senate that gives some rational thought process to the effort on their side to go off the left edge of the world is an important thing to add.
There was a recent report by the FBI and other intelligence agencies that there is interference by Russia and Iran in our election. Number one, what are we doing about it? Number two, how are we protecting ourselves? And number three, since they did it 4 years ago, why weren't we ready for this?
Well, I think we were ready for it. And the difference in what happened this year and what happened 4 years ago is the administration worked hard to develop relationships with all the state election authorities and the big election authorities within the states to secure their voting system, to monitor their registration system.
Senator Blunt says while Russia, Iran, and China are interfering with our elections, they are not targeting the voting process. Instead, they're putting out misinformation. Coming up, COVID-19 surging to all new highs days before the election. Will it impact who wins the White House? I asked Senator Blunt after the break. Welcome back to Full Court Press. COVID-19 out of control, slamming the nation like never before. This week, the U.S. zooming past 9 million confirmed infections, breaking daily new case records. Death tolls are climbing. And of course, millions of people remain out of work. But this election day, the president and members of both parties in Congress are asking you to save their jobs. It's a bold request, considering it has been months since they have successfully worked together to bring you, the voter, more stimulus relief. I spoke to Senator Roy Blunt. I asked him how he convinces voters we don't need a change in leadership.
Well, I think the White House has been doing everything they could to get an agreement, and I think the Senate's been doing everything we could to get a reasonable agreement. I think it's clear that Speaker Pelosi did not want a deal that might possibly benefit President Trump, and that's been the whole problem from day one. And she just has refused to come to the table and come up with an agreement that could get the votes in the Senate of Republicans and Democrats and would get a presidential signature. I think anybody that's watched this closely can't really blame either the White House or the Senate for not trying to get the deal that worked for the COVID relief, not every single problem the speaker could think of that she'd like to solve.
Can you understand the frustration of the American people at this point, though, the ones that are really worried that not only do they not have jobs and there's the unemployment running out, but you have all these politicians saying, give us our jobs and we'll get paid no matter what, even though the American people are a lot more in crisis?
Oh, I totally understand it. About 25% of all the discussion was always in the committee that I chair on health and on labor and on education, getting people back to school, back to work, back to childcare, back to better health. I'm incredibly frustrated we didn't get this done, and the American people should be too. But the president has worked diligently to get this done, not too focused on a number, but focused on policy. People ought to be thinking about that between now and Tuesday and looking at the Republicans on the ballot, Senate and House, who were working hard to get to a final conclusion. And if you do that, we're going to have a good election day on Tuesday.